Once again, your two favorite SEO all-stars. Wow, Nick, really excited for today's live stream. You're looking good today, Nick.
I feel good today. I feel nice today. Today's a nice day. So if you're living in Texas, you know today is the first nice, cool day of the year. We're having a good time, feeling frisky. It looks like we're not going to lose all our money in crypto, and so things are looking up. Things are looking up. If you would have caught us a couple of days ago, maybe we'd be feeling different. We'd be sweaty, we'd be nervous, and we'd be uncertain about the future. So there's probably a lot of you out there that feel the exact same way, and if you're with us, go ahead and like and smash that like button and follow us and subscribe. And even if you're on the opposing viewpoint of this, go ahead and just tell us, boom, I like it, that I hate you so much. So yeah. And also, I've been watching more YouTubes where people are a little bit more flamboyant with the way they move. And we are marketers after all, right? So I feel like I got to take a little bit of this in, grab a hold of it and start practicing a little bit more. Chris and I have admitted we don't like being in the limelight really, which is funny because we've got a show on SEO, but we're hoping this is like our bit of goodwill, our bit of, throwing back some education and paying it forward to people who want to
I'll
leg
let you
up
be
in
the
SEO.
flamboyant one, though.
Yeah,
You gotta bring the energy, man. Bring the energy.
sometimes you gotta whip them into shape. That's the thing too, though. A lot of times, we're doing the show, I don't have the energy. Today, I just if you guys haven't tried it, and it's not an official sponsor, but I like it. Illy Coffee, very clean burning coffee, nice and even. I don't like the coffee that's going to give me jitters, but this one, it's nice, even smooth.
So you think
Good
like
flavor.
certain coffees give you a different caffeine rush, or like it's something other than just
Yeah,
caffeine amount?
I think it's yes. Yeah, I think there's different quality to the beans that they use or like how they source things. And then also, a lot of these coffees that are out now, they're putting some sort of junk coating on them to give them a sort of flavor or something like that. And I just try and abstain from that as best I can. What I notice is in trying a bunch of different coffees out, Illy it's been the one that it just feels good. No hard crash, nothing like that. Just nice and even. And I'm very susceptible to caffeine, so I want to be careful with it because I know there's a lot of people, especially if they work on the computer, love, drinking a massive amount of coffee in the morning, popping Adderall, any number of things, right? But have you ever seen that experiment where they gave spiders like
Yeah, I
web
know what you're
making
talking
spiders
about.
all different kinds of drugs,
Yeah,
including
the
caffeine.
caffeine web is
I feel
crazy.
that way if I dude, it's nuts. And I feel that way sometimes. Like if I'll drink 2 cups of coffee versus the one, which I almost did today, and I just decided, no, because it's based on impulse. It's not based on that I actually need it. It's just something to do. But then, I'll note throughout the day, especially during the beginning of the day, I'm just too scatterbrained to really be focused enough to be efficient at my job. And especially if you're working with data sets and stuff like that, getting too amped up is actually counterproductive. On a personal level, I'm more of the slow me down type guy.
Well, that's cool. Um, yeah, I've been drinking Coca-Cola Classic, because I got off coffee a while back because it was giving me
Nice.
headaches. But
Yeah.
I'm actually,
And you're
well,
sticking to
yeah,
it.
it's been months and months now. It's been maybe a
It
year even. I can't even remember how long it's been. But now I'm basically trying to cut out lots of sugar because I've noticed that I go through phases basically where I add lots of sugar to my diet. Um,
hmm
so yeah, maybe,
Sugar addiction is
and I
very,
only,
very
oh yeah, for
real.
sure. And I, it's, yeah, it's kind of like a drug addiction in a way. Um,
It is.
like you like I'll be sitting around and I'll be like hungry, but like it's a special kind of hunger where I'm like I feel like something's missing. And I think whenever you feel like
Yeah.
that feeling where you feel like something is missing, I think that's like a super like telltale sign of some kind of like addiction you've got going on. When you just like don't feel quite right. It's like
Yeah,
something's missing.
I would
You're just
think
like you're looking for
so.
what is that that'll
Yeah.
like fix me. And you don't really feel bad. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, but yeah, I think I only
Yeah.
really drink caffeine on like live stream days and then on a couple other occasions, but I might try to cut the Coke out because it's just got so much sugar in it.
Hate caffeine. Go ahead and drop us a comment and let us know how it makes you feel. And then
Yes,
smash that like button.
all the
All right,
same.
let's get into some SEO questionolones.
All right. Yeah, it looks like we got some questions coming in. Go ahead and yep, we'll start here at the top. Let's see. Oh, yeah, if you're not familiar, if you guys have a question, it doesn't matter what it is. Don't worry if it's stupid or if you think it's like a super newbie question. We don't care. Just drop anything you want in the chat and we'll get to it. Doesn't even really have to be about
Mhm.
SEO. Um,
Yeah, it doesn't.
all right.
We started this new rant thing, which I like. We'll probably do a little ranting today
We'll save the ranting
if
for
we
the
have
end.
time. Yes.
All right. Um, if I'm going after a less popular niche, low to medium Ahrefs keyword ranking with a new URL in sight, and my competitors use no PMD or EMD and don't have many in title content rankings, do I have a better shot at jumping over the organic results quicker than if I used a company name URL?
Okay, so I guess he's saying that majority of the people ranking for the search term that he's trying to go after, which is low to medium Ahrefs keyword difficulty, um, are all branded domain names versus exact match or partial match
Yeah, yeah.
domain
So yeah,
names,
it sounds like he's
and
saying, yeah, they
that
don't have keywords in their domains, right?
right, yeah, I think so, and then maybe not even not in their title, which I would find hard to believe. So we'll imagine that it's just no EMDs, no PMDs.
Well, he does.
So
Okay,
for
yeah.
those of you that don't know, exact match domain or partial match domain just means that, let's say you're a plumber in Louisville, Kentucky, and an exact match would be LouisvilleKentuckyPlumber.com. Partial match would be um, BillsPlumbing.com, right? Because it's got plumbing, partial match. And then, brandable would just be Louis.com. Louis is the name or whatever. So, yeah, in my opinion, you would have a competitive edge on going with partial match or exact match here. Now, on a personal level, I prefer to use partial match. I do that basically with any project that I start because I like the mix of brandable and partial match. And the reason is because from a client perspective, I think it just looks more trustworthy as well. And so I like to be able to swing a brand around or swing a partial match around and kind of resonate with both of those things. Now, as far as gauging competitive nature of a SERP by looking at Ahrefs keyword difficulty, I would say that's a bad idea. It's a good preliminary approach to seeing if you want to look into going after those SERPs, but you'll want to dig in a little bit further, and we've got keyword research guides on how we do it to kind of really explore whether you are going to
Well,
have a competitive
it's kind of
edge.
cool because it looks like he actually has dug into it. He said, okay, well, they're all
Yeah.
using branded only, so I have an edge there, right? So it's low to medium
Mm-hmm.
difficulty, but I can get a little edge using, a PM. I would go with the PMD, like you said. But then you need to
Yeah.
utilize the PMD, right? Which means building lots of branded anchor text, which will include the keyword because it's a PMD, as well as URL anchors. Um, Yeah, so it sounds like he's kind of like done a little more in-depth research, right? He knows they're not EMD, PMD. He says no in-title content rankings, so maybe their on page isn't optimized too well. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to
Hmm.
me. But if that's right, then yeah, those are two things that you've identified, which would completely change the dynamic. So so let's say the competition said medium, but you were only really comfortable with low difficulty, right? And then you noticed, well, hey, I can use a PMD to kind of sneak in there, and also I can optimize my on page better than them. Then, that might, even though it was ranked medium and you really wanted low difficulty, then you might be able to, do something that you weren't otherwise able to do just because basically your SEO would be a little bit better, right? So that's the real the advantage of actually looking into things a little bit more deeply instead of just looking at what Ahrefs is telling you. I see.
Yeah, your brain's definitely in the right
Yeah,
place.
I feel like he's on a really
If you
good
need
path
a
here.
confidence boost, hmm I think if you need a confidence boost on what you're doing, we'll both give you the thumbs up on where your head's currently at. And like I said, I would still jump into a little further with the competition research or keyword research, but yeah, you're on the right path.
For sure. Sounds good. All right. Let's see. Should my blogs, should my, let's start over. Should my blogs backlink to another
It's the
high
caffeine.
authority website? So basically, what I want to ask is, do I get anything if I backlink some keyword to their page in regards to my own DAPA? Um, so okay, so so these are called outbound authority links, right? And when you're doing outbound authority links, you always want it to be high authority, and generally to find them, you'll just do a kind of a more like general search for some kind of keyword or term, and you'll just pick one of the top ranking sites that are up there. Of course, you want to make sure the site isn't actually one of your competitors, right? Because you don't want to link to your competitor sites. You just want to link to like people love linking to like Wikipedia, um, because obviously Wikipedia is not really your competitor. But basically, if you can find a high authority site that's relevant to whatever you're talking about and link to that and not be a competitor. Um, so yeah, in relation to like your own site's authority, um, I wouldn't even really look at it like that. You just want to link to some authoritative subject, right? It doesn't matter if it's like lower or higher than yours, but generally it's always going to be higher than your site, right? Um, but I've seen people
Yeah, and
talk.
it's not going to be like a
What I'm trying to avoid is I've seen people say before, like stuff like a link from a site with an authority lower than my site's authority does not do anything for my rankings. Which you can't look at it like
which is
that. You're just like
bullshit.
you're just looking for trusted, authoritative sources. They're generally going to be higher than yours, but if you have a super high authority site, it might not be. But I'm guessing it probably will be in most
Well, so,
cases.
so let's be real here too, right? Like the conversation here is we're using outbound authority links to try and manipulate data sets for Google crawlers, right? And so you've probably been reading that it's customary to add those kind of links in there. And it absolutely does help boost, some sort of trust factor there. Typically, like Chris said, these outbound authority links are going to be authoritative websites that are not selling anything, but rather, more
Yeah.
based on informational
Hmm.
stuff. And then you're not going to be using money anchors, right? It's just branded, naked, and random kind of anchors to just point out to the fact, like, let's look at it from a
It's
natural
kind of like
perspective,
building
right? Instead
relevance
of the
in
manipulation
reverse.
perspective. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, all of these links going back and forth are painting a picture about what this site does, right? And it's customary for a website to link out to other authoritative websites and kind of, paint that picture naturally. It's very rare that somebody's going to start a blog where they don't link out to anything
and they're just kind of pushing their own agenda. Meanwhile, they're getting a ton of links. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? The network would feel kind of incomplete. And so, yeah, should you going back to what Chris said about people saying that a link going to a lower quality site than yours, that it doesn't make sense either. Randomness is the nature of the internet, okay? So do you think Bill the plumber thinks about who he's linking out to before he puts that link on his page? No. These concepts about what make up a site that's going to rank versus not rank has a lot to do with what looks natural, what feels natural. And it's more of a blending than it is just trying to find, some easy concrete situation where it's like, okay, here's my site. Now I just have to find sites that are bigger based on what variables, referring domains, Moz score, DR, DA. There's a million different things you could go through. So, best practice, outbound authority links are going to be typically stronger, but, they can be an authority in whatever sense of the word. Sometimes smaller sites are the authority on certain niche subject matters.
And just to, I think you've already got this from your question because you asked, should my blogs backlink to another high authority website? So I'm guessing you mean your blog articles, like your posts. So yeah, just to clarify for anyone watching this, because I think you already understand it, but I wouldn't add outbound authority links like from your homepage or something. I mean, you can, but it's just not what we normally do. Or like pages, or if you like have like a business from like basically like your service pages or your location pages or something like that, be like just your blog posts. It'll be a little bit different on an affiliate site because a lot of the times, your blog posts are some of your money making articles, really, right? Because you're pumping out affiliate articles, and you can do outbound authority links on those, of course. But for businesses, like for example, for like our own, on our page where we're our guest post service page, we're not sending outbound authority links on pages like that. It's just it's our sales landing page, really. So yeah, just keep it to blog post, and yeah, keep it relevant. Like Nick was saying, just link to what's natural, right? And it's generally going to be higher authority than your website because you're going to be searching for kind of more general terms and just picking from the top. Anything else, Nick?
No, that's it.
All right. And we see the comments coming in on YouTube. We're just getting through some of this other backlog. Actually, we'll go ahead and we'll start taking the YouTube ones now before we get to the others. Do you think backlinks or adding content can revive a site that is heavily damaged by Google updates? Would you just scrap and start another? Absolutely 100% yes. What does that sound? Do you have a... I think that's Nick. I think we lost Nick. There you go. Okay.
Hello?
What happened there?
Okay. Internet connection issue. It does it every once in a while.
That was weird.
You switch the router out.
Weird noise at me. I thought that the call completely dropped. Anyway, we'll start this one over real quick.
Okay.
So, do you think backlinks or adding content can revive a site that is heavily damaged by Google updates? Would you just scrap and start another? To answer the first question, do you think backlinks and adding content can revive a site? Absolutely, 100% yes. The things would have to be pretty extreme.
Well, depending on the extent of the damage.
Things would have to be pretty extreme for me to want to completely scrap it. Generally, if it's a site that I'm doing, things are not going to be that extreme, so it'd be pretty much recoverable. But maybe you're working on like a client site, or maybe you took over a site, or I don't know what the situation would be. But basically, you didn't build it from scratch, so maybe things might be a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, so generally, if we want to revive a site that's been hit by some kind of like algo update or whatever, which we see pretty often, especially in our managed link building program, where we basically just take care of backlinks for people. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. We're generally adding lots of very natural links, so links from real sites, like no PBNs or anything like that. So we're doing like guest posts and niche edits, usually high authority, as relevant as we can get them, and usually linking to the homepage with very natural anchors, right? URL anchors, branded anchors, generic anchors. And then, we'll tell the client as well, since we don't handle anything else. We tell them, you should, new content is always good, or revitalizing your old content. Um, these are always good things. So supernatural, high authority links to the homepage, and adding new content, revitalizing old content is exactly how we, in general, of course, there can be other situations where they have a specific problem, like maybe their anchor profile is complete garbage and needs to be diversified or something. But in general, that's like where we basically start at, right? You there, Nick? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
do you have anything to add to that?
Well, yeah, like we said early on, it's going to depend on the extent of the damage done to the website. A lot of people give up way too early, and some people keep pushing way too late. Depending on what the link profile is going to look like and what exactly you mean by it was heavily damaged by Google updates, like did it get a penalty? Was it a slap? How hard was that slap? And is it based off of, misused anchors? Is it, a heavily spammed site historically? And then even still, you can get into things like sometimes the revival of the site is by starting something new and using it as a 301, or sometimes it's, 301ing through a buffer, or like you said, you can kind of restructure what you're doing, go after new content campaigns and prod with backlinks to try and revive a site. And in, my experience, even when a site has been de-indexed, and I've held on to sites for close to a year before with content without actually reaching out to Google, though you can reach out to Google and get good results if you've kind of painted the picture properly and get something re-indexed. But even just holding a site, maybe, and then even just starting a little link building campaign, a lot of people would have considered dead. All of this is going to be based on, what you think you can do without looking at a link profile. It's kind of hard to tell you what I would do in a given, but like Chris said, in MLB we see people all the time who have not gotten an actual penalty, but did get slapped during a new algo update, and just by being natural with what we're doing, we're able to revive that site's rankings. And so
It takes time,
yeah,
though.
in my
It takes
opinion, there's
time.
never a completely lost
Just
cause.
be
Yeah,
aware that
it
it
does.
does take time, and it does take money, right? Content. I mean, I guess you could write it all yourself. But time is the same as money, really, in a sense. Um, and then
Yeah.
Links. Whether you're going through a provider like us or doing them yourself, it's usually going to cost money too. Or lots of time, creating
Yeah.
some kind of crazy content and really marketing it. Both are essentially money. So it's either going to take a good amount of time or a good amount of money. So another thing you probably want to look at is you basically have to assess the damage and say, okay, here's where I'm at. You know, let's say the site has like 2000 RD and it's just complete trash, right? Then it's going to be pretty hard to turn that thing around, since it's got such a high amount of basically toxic link building that's been done to it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the site itself, maybe the content and just the amount of work that the site would take. I don't know. You basically just need to assess the situation and say, okay, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze here, or should I just start with on a new expired or a new age domain or something, or even completely fresh? But yeah, so it's going to kind of depend on your budget basically in a sense as well. Anything else, Nick?
No, I think, well, I guess one thing to add, for me personally, with any of my projects, I've never scrapped a project unless I was purposefully spamming it, which I haven't done in a long, long time. So I don't know. If you're building things properly, this is typically a question that you don't have to ask, but maybe if you're hunting for age domains and you see something you like that's got some good quality backlinks, but maybe a kind of shady history or like a sketchy history, right? Yeah, you can, like Chris said, you're gonna have to assess it and decide, where your threshold is, because hypothetically you can just keep looking for a new domain and find something that's completely clean, right?
All right. Let's see here. Next question. Have you guys sold sites that have a decent number of PBN links? The brokers sort of put them as a risk when analyzing sites.
Yeah, so PBNs are a risk, and if you've been watching the show for a while, we don't use that many PBNs. We use them to tailor our rankings, which honestly they kind of go unnoticed in your link profile if you're using them properly. But what I'll come to find is, especially people that do flip sites, a lot more than me. They're typically trying not to announce that they've used PBN links, because it does usually make the brokers for these kinds of domains, you'll get less money than if it were, quote, natural links, or what they can consider being natural links. If your site's got a, quote, decent number of PBN links, I'm thinking you're probably on the heavier side of PBN use, to where if you threw it in Ahrefs, you'd see that all the top DR sites for, X amount, a big amount of your percentage of your link profile is going to be PBNs. So on a personal note, if I was buying a website like that, I'd probably be a little bit more iffy, unless it was my PBN and I know how it's been built, because a lot of people have different ideas of how to build a PBN. I know I stand by mine because they've lasted years, and I've used them on a lot of campaigns. Having said that, your question is based around brokers analyzing the site. By checking Ahrefs, if it's very obvious that you're using PBN links. And I'm not saying, you would lie or anything if you were putting one up for sale, but if it's a very small percentage of your link profile, and it's a well-built PBN, it's not going to be a serious hazard for that website. Yeah.
What some people do as well is they transition out of the PBNs at a certain point. So basically what they're doing is, in the beginning, maybe not in the very beginning, but basically kind of in the middle stages of the link building process, they start using PBNs. And, it's a shortcut, and it's cheap. It's generally kind of cheaper as well, right? And at this stage of the link building process, they're also maybe they're not 100% sure about what the site's going to look like when they're selling it. They don't know how much money it's going to be making yet. They don't really know how successful the project is going to be quite yet. So at that point, it's kind of like it might be a good decision, but then later on, when things get a little bit more solidified, and there's, okay, this site's really making some good money. The project turned out really well and stuff. They might slowly transition out of the PBN links, like remove the PBN links, add other links. But it's a complicated process. It takes time, and you're going to see rankings probably bounce around and stuff when you're doing
If I'm being honest, I think think it's a bad way to go about things from a personal
People
level.
definitely
Like
do it though.
yeah, it's a small percentage of people. I feel like, I get the purpose, but at the same time, like you said, you're going to cause some volatility. And a PBN being such a strong, powerful link, you're definitely going to want to feather out properly. So know what you're doing.
So back to your question, you said the broker, you say you guys sold sites that have a decent number of PBN links. So I'm guessing when you say a decent number of PBN links, you actually mean a lot of PBN links.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that case, like Nick was saying, we do use
Yeah.
PBN links. We do like to use PBNs, but they make up a very small portion of the overall link profile, right? It's the cherry on top rather than the main body of the backlink profile. If you're asking if we ever tried to sell a site that is like basically ranking on like a pile of PBN links,
Just
the
PBNs.
answer
Yeah.
is no. I've never
Well,
tried to do that.
and think about it, man. I mean, these brokers, they know how to analyze these websites to some degree. Looking for PBNs is simple. If you've got a site that's heavy with PBNs, like I said, Ahrefs, backlinks, sort by DR, go down the
You
list.
are.
You'll see all
Isn't it
these
UR? Don't you want
huh?
UR? That's from the
No,
linking page.
uh, oh yeah, that's true. But I mean,
It's UR.
yeah,
Anyway, doesn't
they
matter.
always pop up top, even with DR. Anyhow. Uh, yeah, you can just go down the list and you can see how many
Yeah.
homepage links you have there. It's just going to pop up with the main URL, right? And so let's just get into this. If you're the broker and somebody comes to you and says, nope, never used a PBN, and then I pop it into Ahrefs and in 2 seconds I can see you've got 30 of them right there, I'm going to tell you to go to hell.
Uh,
Okay? But maybe if I see one or two in there and there's a good mix and stuff, and maybe they're made so well that I can't even tell that they're PBNs. Whatever. I'm probably going to be more inclined to trust that and to say this is a pretty good website. So how blatantly manipulative are you trying to be, right? Those are the things you're going to have to gauge.
all right. Oops. I keep clicking like wrong buttons. All right, here we go. How long do backlink campaigns take to start showing decent results? 3, 6, 12 months. Um, so this kind of depends on a bunch of stuff, right? It depends on the domain that you're building to, right? How long is are you talking about a completely like fresh domain? Or are you building on like an expired or an aged domain, something like that? Or just has your site been around for a while already and has started kind of already resonating in the SERPs? Generally, the longer things have been around and the more established the site is, kind of the quicker things move, in my experience. Um, but the link building campaigns, I don't even really think about them as link building campaigns. It's just the link building of the site. It should be like from when the site is first started to when the site is sold or dies. That's your backlink campaign, right? You should be pretty much building links this entire time. You don't really, I mean, you can stop, especially if it's like a low competition thing, like some kind of like small, low competition, like local business or something like that. But in general, you want to be always building, right? Um, but yeah, it's, if you're only building, a couple links a month and you're in a pretty good competition niche, then it could take a very long time to see any good results from that, right? Or if you're building on a fresh domain and it's high competition and you're not building many links, I mean, good luck, right? But
You, you, you want to know the main variable that comes into play with this question? If I'm just thinking about it outright, how well versed of an SEO are you? Okay. How much time and energy have you put into campaigns? How much experimenting have you done? How, good are the recipes for success that you've set up? Because this is going to depend not just on backlink campaigns, but on your content campaigns, on building
Yeah.
the entire picture that says this is a site that is, worthwhile to resonate in the SERPs according to Google's crawlers, right? Or to Google's algorithm. So, depending on your competition, but let's say even low competition, if you're a newer SEO or somebody that doesn't have much of an education in it, it's probably going to take you closer to, a year. And that's if you've got the tenacity to be able to continue along with these projects, right? If you're really well versed. Let's just talk about me. When I first got into SEO, I think it was probably like a year and a half before I ever got a page to page one. There wasn't a lot of information out there. There weren't people that I could trust to follow. And so all these recipes were just building off of, trying to randomly piece something together. And really, like, the only thing that kept me going was the desire to want to win, right? Now, with my recipes, if I'm not getting movement between 3 to 4 months, I know something is heinously
So we've
wrong.
got a little more
Okay.
information on his question. So he says,
Mhm.
I bought a site so the site he's talking about has about 500 visits per day on average. If I were to enroll in the MLB programs, our managed link building program, how long will it take? It only has 5 links that the previous owner built. So it has 5 links, but it's getting 500 visits per day. It's getting some traffic, meaning it's ranking for something. That's kind of crazy if it only has 5 links. That's a lot of traffic for 5 links.
Yeah, it just depends. It could be like an informational article about who knows what. But yeah, I mean, that's honestly, it's a good starting point because it means it's got some trust, in Google, and I would think faster rather than later. But anybody that gives you a concrete timeline
They're
on what their
jerking your
marketing budget is
chain.
going to do for you is jerking your chain. Yeah. So what I would say, if you want to do MLB program with us, yeah, that's a great site. We'd be
Oh, looks like we lost Nick again. My computer's beeping at me, which I think means he's going to come back in a second. It's kind of funny.
God.
That was cool. You were like frozen
Hello?
like a hologram.
Hey, where did I? Oh, it's gonna be sick when I can
We're talking
actually use
about
my
him joining
NFTs to.
MLB and that it seemed like a good site to work
Yeah, so
on.
you've got a good starting point. You're already resonating in the SERPs. You don't have much of a backlink profile, so if you're handling things on the content side, right, and everything else, backlinks would be easy. Now, like I said, I'm not going to give you a concrete timeline of when you're going to rank.
Yeah.
I just won't do it. There's so many variables that come into play, including just Google updates or any number of things, competition changing, that are going to play. But what I would say is, if this is where you're at, then take the current budget that you have allocated for backlinks, you spread that out over 6 months.
Minimum.
Okay, and then
Minimum.
that's what you see. Yeah, minimum.
So, people
spread it out
really
over 6 months.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. I mean, it's not so much about, hey, when can I get ranked? It's about just putting in the time, and knowing that the recipe that you're building off of is going to equal success, which, can be hard, especially if it's, one of your first sites. And I'm not saying that's where you're at, but, just speaking to the general audience, the first time getting to rankings is the hardest because there's never a concrete timeline for you.
So when people ask this question, when managed link building applicants ask this question, our process, our SOP is to tell them we cannot answer it for them. And I know, a lot of people, they do not want to hear this answer. You're looking for a definite solution. You're looking to make X amount of money in X time. You're looking to see blank ROI in 6 months maximum, something like that. But just like we were explaining to you before, whether you're an MLB client or not, the truth of the matter is no one knows. And it depends on so much more than just the link building campaign, right? A lot of it depends on your niche, how well you're basically using the site to target the niche. the content you're pumping out, your on page. There's just so much that goes into the equation. And even if all of that is perfect, even if everything else except for the links is perfect, we still can't give an answer because an answer, it would be a lie. It would be a lie. We could tell you, you'll start seeing results in 3 months, but the truth of the matter is you don't really know until you start really building and start seeing how things are reacting. And then you can maybe give a little bit more of an estimate of what you think is going on. But even then, it's still an estimate, right? It's a best guess. It's an educated guess rather than a definite answer.
Something else that I think is important to note in my adolescent stage of SEO, I gauged my success based on trying to hit certain keyword targets, right? Okay, this is my keyword. I'm going after this one. It's worth this much traffic. It should, be enough to resonate into this much cash. I don't do that anymore. My outline and my plan is about the overall building of the website, right? So I'm looking for traffic from multiple types of sources. Typically, if you're looking for a question that answers, well, how long till I rank? You're looking at specific targets, right? Versus the overall picture. But when I'm building a site from scratch, the content is ever evolving, right? So I'm always growing it out based on keyword research, good keyword research. But I'm also just building up the overall authority of the website using backlinks naturally to the homepage, generic stuff like that. And I'm not giving too much thought about which keywords are ranking faster or etc. Like I'm literally just building the overall picture to try and just amass as much traffic to that content as I can when I'm starting off. And what you're going to find is that increase in traffic usually increases the trust to your website as well. And then it gets easier to rank for specific keywords that you want to go after. A lot of times just using excellent keyword research alongside a backlink campaign that's going to build out the overall authority of your network versus authority to specific subject matter that's niche and obscure. And you'll find that in focusing on those priorities, you've kind of lopsided your campaign building, right? And so then something, just doesn't look natural. So something to think about.
So yeah, just to recap a little bit as well. We always tell people, MLB applicants to plan the budget for 6 to 12 months. Like you don't want to just front load your budget, spend it all in the beginning and run out of money within like 3 months. You absolutely do not want to do that. You want to be able to sustain your link building over time, right? And so, this also requires you to have basically a budget that matches the niche that you're attacking, right? Because if you have a small budget and you're attacking a high competition niche and you need to spread that small budget out over 6 to 12 months, I mean, it could take some real time for things to really get going. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you need to have done the homework on your end as well for something like that to really work out. But yeah, plan, budget for 6 to 12 months. And then, if you're not just some low competition local site or something, you're going to want to keep building after that as well in most cases, unless your competition just dies. Literally everyone else in your niche, their site explodes and they stop wanting to outrank you, right?
Yeah, that's something else I think people don't consider up front. It's like
There's other people out there
you don't
trying
build
to
a
beat you. Yeah.
campaign to just stop, at some point in time. This is part of your marketing budget. You do it continually. And if it works, then you up the budget or you keep it where it's at minimum. You don't clip off something that's going to end up getting you more clients in the long run. And I think maybe some people look at it from a perspective of, well, if I get this keyword, then I can sell it for 30x and I'm going to be so rich. But it's just, it's not the way it works. And people that do buy sites, they want to see longevity, right? They want to see an ability to carry on. And that means, if they look, they're typically going to look at like 6 months of, information based on traffic, backlink profiles, when all that came in, and the money that the site makes, right? So worth noting.
Yes, hopefully that makes sense. I know it's not an easy answer. It's not the answer people generally want to hear because it's complicated, right?
Yeah, we could probably get a lot more MLB clients if we just, yeah, it'll take 2 to 3 months. You're in. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just that's sleazy.
it
It's
is.
it's
It's
sleazy.
sleazy. Yeah. Um, all right, let's see what else we got here.
Me and Chris are real smart guys. Okay, we don't have to sleaze for our money. All right, we work hard.
All right. Um, hey guys, really enjoying this live stream. I've got a question for you guys. How can I build guest posts links for a local site by doing outreach? Yeah, so it's, if you want to do the outreach yourself, it's basically you're going to be going to Google. You're going to be typing in some keywords to look for blogs that are in your niche, related to your niche somehow. And you're going to be sending them emails, right? You're going to send lots and lots of emails um, to basically try to convince them to, allow you to post some kind of guest content on their site. That's it in a nutshell. I do have a let's see which article. Do you want to talk about this for a second, Nick, while I find the article?
Well, I was just going to say, I think Chris has an email article for outreach, right? That kind of outlines it. But yeah, some tips that you'd want to look at are you're going to get more access to more sites if you're personable, if you show this webmaster that you're very interested in getting us a link from them. If it's a popular site, they get countless emails every day, generic
Oh yeah.
preloaded mass sent emails. Hey, I'm with whoever and I'm looking for a link exchange or to get a link on your site, blah blah. you know a lot of times it's better to focus on sites that are not the most powerful sites. Maybe you find them on, a little further down in the SERPs and they're not quite as big. And the webmaster is more involved with that particular site. And so you're going to have better rate of getting exchanges or, getting a outreach campaign going with sites like that, especially early on. So those are just some tips of the trade.
See, I've got this article here, How to Find Guest Post Opportunities, which I've linked for you, so you can definitely check that out. And it should have links in it as well to some more stuff like basically like email templates to use and stuff like that. But yeah, in essence, you're going to be you're going to be doing lots of outreach. It's just you're finding sites and you're reaching out to them. How you find the sites can be a little bit different. Like you can use some like tools that actually go out, like automated tools that go out and like find a bunch of sites, or you can do it yourself, or you can hire a VA that knows a little bit about link building. You could hire like someone who actually knows how to do outreach, like a VA, or you could come to a provider such as ourselves. But yeah, in its simplest form, you're just going to be reaching out to a ton of sites and yeah, trying to work out a deal with them. In general, the biggest tip that I'll give you is, and I think Nick talked about this. I was kind of busy trying to find the article, I think, but like Nick was saying, we get, and anyone who has any site ranked anywhere, you get so much spam every single day, people wanting to guest post on your site. So what I will say is, especially if you're going after like some kind of like more like unique target, some sites might be easier. They might, a lot of these messages, they might just be like, oh yeah, we can do that. But some sites will be a little more picky or selective, right? So just being able to personalize the email, you can still use a template, but the key being, especially in the very beginning part of the email, really personalize it to who you're sending it to. Or it's just, in most cases, or in a lot of cases, it's just going to be thrown out right away, right? Obviously, you want to put some time into these emails. And yeah, I mean, just the more legitimate it seems, and the more just non-spam it seems, I think really ups your chances of having success finding people that'll be willing to let you post content on their website.
Also, don't forget, right? This is all marketing. Money talks. Okay, so majority of these sites are not going to let you put up a post or get a backlink without some sort of exchange, or they might put up a post if you write an article that is worthwhile to put up. You can call it free content, for their website, but it's going to have to be to their liking, right? So
Yeah, so there are
an
ways
exchange is typically preferred.
that you can like really and I feel like in local as well, it's easy to do this. There are ways that you can make content that can be a lot pretty easy to get links to. So like for example, if you were to make some kind of like list like of, like top or like our favorite I don't know, I'm just going to say SEO, our favorite SEO agencies in Texas or in Austin or whatever. And then you can show them the list and you can already like have them on the list. And then you can email them and be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know we wrote this article and we really like the fact that we liked your services or something. So we added you to this list. And then a lot of the times they'll want to link to you. They'll be like, hey, they'll put it up on their website and be like, look, we made this list of top SEO agencies in this X city or whatever. But so there are ways you can like create content that like really incentivizes that they want to share because they're in it. But then it can be kind of more like a link exchange or whatever. So I'm not saying you want to do that like all the time. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go the content route, it definitely takes a little, you can try to find some like interesting things to get into like that, as well as just making content that's actually really, really good. That's kind of a different focus than how we normally build links, which generally revolves around outreach is what we're normally focused on. Anything to add to that, Nick?
No, I think that covers it.
Cool.
Wow, we got a lot of questions today. I think my little Pistol Pete movement really got him amped up for today's show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join our Facebook group, the SEO Roundtable, if you have not already.
I guess we'll end it with a little rant. I think Nick wanted to rant
Yeah, let's
about
do a little
this
rant
one.
alone. Well, yeah. Okay, so we got through most of the questions. So yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about this.
Yeah, no, we're good. We can save some of the other ones for the backlog later.
Cool. And genuinely, thanks for everybody for coming out today and taking the time to spend it with us. I think now that we're more regular, 12 o'clock Central U.S. time every Wednesday, it's easier for people to get with us. Sorry about that moving period, but we're all clear now.
All right, so this isn't really a question. It was more so it's something you see pretty often, right? If you're on Facebook and you're in some SEO groups.
Boom.
PBN per link, only 50 cents with DA 30 plus sites. That's a deal.
Mamma mia, that's a deal.
That's a deal if I've ever seen one.
What I wanted to talk about here was the 2010, to 2015 Fiverr PBN farms that used to last for maybe 3 to 6 months if you were lucky before they got de-indexed. It doesn't exist anymore, right? A quality PBN is very expensive. If you consider registrar costs and premium hosting costs being the two things that you're mainly factoring in prices on. So meaning, for our PBN, we've got like 30 registrars that we go to, and not all because they have cheap price points. Some of them are very expensive to keep websites, and then the reinstatement fees are insane. We're talking about $40, $50 a year for one domain. And then hosting, if you're using premium hosts, not this, 25-cent stuff, but like premium host, it adds up. So if this person is selling 50 cents per post, they're churning and burning across I don't know how many domains, and guaranteed they don't care the quality of sites. There's no audit. There's nothing like that. It's just churning and burning as many, low end pieces of content as you can. Content alone, I don't even know where to go get crap content for 50 cents. So in my opinion, like the only way to do this would
Spin.
be spun
Yeah.
content. Yeah,
Oh, we lost Nick again. He's turned.
like what? Where
Uh,
they're spinning content nonstop. Those sites aren't going to last but a couple of weeks. Like there's no longevity in something like this. And it's crazy that this kind of stuff is still advertised. And not to knock this vendor, right? Like everybody's got their own hustle. I get it. And PBN might be something, they
I think it's okay to knock them.
yeah,
They need
it's
to
its
they
own,
need to get with the
right?
times,
But
right?
this is yeah, it's ancient history. This kind of stuff doesn't even make sense. Like, and for you newer SEOs that are coming in here going, hey, Nick and Chris sell their PBNs for a lot more than this. What the hell? Well, yeah, our PBNs resonate like real sites and they last for years. That's what I'm telling you. I've gone through the ringer as far as, getting loads of D indexes over the
I can't even remember
years,
the last D index we've had on the PBN.
practicing things. Yeah, they pop up every once in a while, but like the index rate it's negligent with our PBNs due to the way that we build
Yeah.
them. And some of the main factors, 50 cents is there's no way to afford even maintaining a PBN at that price point.
I
It
don't.
just sorry, it's just basic math. Not gonna
Yeah,
work.
I just don't understand how they're able to make any money.
Most people probably don't check whether they've been de-indexed or not. I remember back in the day whenever I would spam sites a bit more, right? Because you could get away with it, so why not? I would go and I would buy, 10 to 15 cheap Fiverr PBN links, and it was PBN farms. They didn't care what was on there, etc. And I would blend them in with like better looking links. But you'd come to find if you were looking at their de-index rate, is incredibly high, right? So if you're a site that's not well diversified, especially with your link profile, you're throwing Hail Marys and then you go do something like this, kiss your site goodbye. Because, once it gets popped and it's very obvious that you're trying to manipulate your money site, you're not getting back. Not for a long time anyway, or not without jumping through a lot of hoops. So, remember, uh, we're not the cheapest provider of links out there, and there's a reason for that. I think when it comes to the quality we're at, we are on the cheaper side of high tier backlink
And it's
providers,
not just
which
us, there are other providers out there as well. And the cost is the cost that it is for a reason. It's
yeah.
because
Yeah, if anything, I've been thinking lately we're kind of seeing costs, especially on stuff like the PBN, because it's fallen out of popularity, quite honestly. Or people are using them more strategically, like we advise doing. Don't make up a huge portion of your backlink profile. Just come in and you're using them strategically. But that means the money is a little bit different than it was when I first started. My first SEO business was purely PBNs, or successful business outside of some small local SEO stuff was PBNs. But that was the heyday. People were using them. I was abusing them, and they were working really well. And the landscape's changed a bit, and now you notice that a lot of the high tier PBN providers that existed 5 years ago, around the time I got my start, they don't exist anymore. And it's because it's not cost effective and it's very difficult to provide a high quality service that's not going to risk getting tanked and then being the business's downfall in the end. So yeah, just things to consider. PBN is not a cheap link to use. It should not be. If you see something that looks way too cheap, consider why it might be cheap, and it's because they're doing high
yeah, and
volume.
just to get a little bit bigger picture with this, and also to clarify, I think most people, if you've been doing SEO for any amount of time, you probably already, well, I'm not going to say everybody, but I would say the large majority of SEOs know to kind of stay away from this kind of stuff. Um, maybe you can't even say large majority. I don't know. I, that people definitely still use these kind of things, but hopefully the large majority of SEOs know to kind of stay away from this. I think a lot of the people that are maybe drawn into it are more like the average Joe, like the business owner or whatever, and they don't understand why is a stupid backlink cost any money. It's just a little bit of text, right? And they don't understand the
Yeah,
value
yeah,
of it. They don't understand where the industry's at. They don't understand what good links can actually do for them as far as
right.
completely changing their business, right? And so just to get a little bigger picture with it, you can apply the same concept to pretty much anything in SEO. I'm not saying, and I, so the idea is, you get what you pay for. If something is cheap, there's a reason it's cheap. Like this is like there's a that it's generally going to be crap. But there's of course there's varying shades of gray to this, right? Because things can definitely be overpriced. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's super great, and that doesn't mean you can't find stuff that is cheap that isn't good. But there's a line where things become too cheap, right? So, so PBN links for 50 cents or even a dollar or even $5. I mean, I would be very skeptical of these kinds of things because like Nick was saying, just the cost alone in doing these things even semi correctly, it makes it impossible for the person to make any kind of money off of it unless they're really cutting some corners in a very bad way, right? Which can put you at risk. So yeah, just you can apply the same thing to anything in SEO. If you're a business owner and you're kind of new to SEO and you're looking to understand this internet thing and don't understand why people are ripping you off for so much money, just understand that you're not some kind of internet genius by finding a PBN link farm for 50 cents or $1 a link. You should stay away from it and try to be a little bit safer rather than doing stuff that can
And
actually hurt you and your business and your website in the long term.
yeah,
Because I'm guessing then, if you can't even find a good link provider, then how are you going to find someone to recover your site, which you screwed up? Then that's even
yeah,
harder because people even
it's way
it's even a
harder.
more specialized thing. It's going to cost more money, and being able to find someone that actually knows how to do it and do it at a rate that you're going to be happy with, I'm guessing would be impossible at that point because you can't even understand, um, step one of things actually costing some kind of money for it.
Right.
Um,
And then let's point out DA 30 plus, right? DA is easy to manipulate. They do it in link farm, PBN link
Google
farms, guest post link
redirects.
farms. Yeah, they use these little tactics, including Google redirects, to beef up DA. And like Chris was talking about, from like a newer SEO or a business perspective, like somebody that's not involved in SEO, well, they showed me the sites and they sure as shit were DA 30. Meanwhile, I'm going to Nick's and, I got a DA 12. Yes, because we don't manipulate the backlink data that makes, it inflates something, for the sense of just inflating it, and it doesn't resonate with Google. Google doesn't give a shit about DA. Okay. So,
Or
yeah,
DR
that's
or any of
something
that.
else to look out for. Yeah, or any of it.
All right. We actually got one more question. So this is going to be the last question we answer, guys. I think it's the last one that I see posted on any live stream. Yeah, we'll go ahead and answer this one. This will be the last one. Screen. All right. I just think this is funny. Do you think
I love
SEO is
it.
a bad career from a psychological perspective? I mean, we have so less control over this platform. I find it frustrating to wait for Google's approval. Any thoughts? So there's I actually really like talking about this because I think it's interesting. Um, so yeah, everything you said is very true, and uh, this is why so many people don't make it in SEO for all of these reasons you mentioned, right? So you don't have control. This is something we were talking about in when a previous question where someone was asking about how long is it going to take for my link building campaign to show results. You cannot answer that question truthfully. You can give estimates, but your estimates don't really mean much. It's an educated guess, and they're wrong almost all the time, right? And so yeah, you don't really have control. At the end of the day, we study what Google, we figure out and we study what we think Google wants us to do, and then we offer it up to Google, but they still have to take it, right? They still have to take the last step of actually making it happen. And uh, things can happen where you're thinking you're doing everything right. For some reason, things just aren't working out. I mean, generally, if you've been doing SEO for a while, you can probably pretty much figure out why things aren't working, or you can try to tweak stuff to make it work, whatever. But especially for like newer people, yeah, there's an extreme lack of control, and even for experienced people, there is that lack of control. It's always there. Um, and also, like so your second part, I find it frustrating to wait for Google's approval. That's another, I think this is the thing that actually makes SEO the most frustrating, is you don't ever get instant gratification. It's always delayed. And if you're actually working hard, the time from when you actually start getting results and everything you did in between, there's so much that you did in there. So it's so hard to connect the dots to which of these actions truly led to that result. And the answer is it's generally all of it kind of mixed together. But it's just so hard to get any kind of like this feeling of like, yeah, I nailed it, and then I got this result, and my work, I did the work and it paid off and I got the reward, right? So from a psychological perspective, it's very tough for people to deal with that. And this is why I guess a couple of years ago, something like that, I got into day trading, and I got into really high momentum. It was like right on market open, very fast trades. Trades generally were not longer than a minute or two. Some trades were only a couple seconds long. The thing is I liked it so much because it was such a big change from SEO, because you just got the gratification right away. Boom, $100. Boom, $400. Boom, I just lost $600, whatever.
Boom, negative.
Yeah, it happens, but it was happening fast. And you knew, even though the control wasn't there, because, the stock market in general, for anyone, it's best guesses as well, right? The strategy is to find, what you want to do is find a strategy that is right, more than 50% of the time, and to keep that up. But there's just the fact that the instant gratification was there was like something that felt very good to have back in my life, right? Because you just don't really get that from SEO at all. Yeah, what do you think about all this, Nick?
Yeah, a lot of this is going to depend on who you are. So sit down and have a serious conversation with yourself about, your own psychological perspective and what you want out of life and how much you want that to be the stress, not only of just an SEO career, but as a career in general, as an entrepreneur. Because if you're focused on SEO, it means you're going to have to be your own manager. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to stay on top of things. Like Chris said, there is no instant gratification, so you just have to believe in the fact that you will get there. We've talked about this.
And it gets easier once you actually get there,
so I'll say it again.
Times.
Yeah, it does, but then you're always like shifting your what you're doing, and you're building onto it, and you'll come to find that the stress kind of eases. But if you're in charge of your own business, like, the stress never goes away. So I think, from that perspective, a lot of people say they want to be a business owner or entrepreneur, but it's not easy. And other business owners that I know say the same thing. Nothing has tested their psychology as much as being their own boss. I can 100% stand by that. I've, fought in a cage. I've lived off a motorcycle with a tent for 7+ months. Like, I pushed myself a bunch of silly ways, right? But that's who I guess I've always kind of been. I like the fight. I like being in something that stresses me out to the point of, am I going to give up and roll over here, or am I going to keep at it? Hell or high water, I'm going to win at this. SEO and starting my own businesses was the most psychologically draining thing I've ever put myself through. I've never hit rock bottom like my first couple years of trying to make um, a business in a field that is so obscure work for me. You can't just go to school. You can't just get online and study one person's perspective. Even if you found us, then you're going to have a competitive advantage than I did when I first got started because we're giving you good information. But still, you're going to want to study other people's points of views as well. And you're going to have to tie the room together for yourself. So the only one that can answer that question for you is you yourself, and knowing yourself and the type of personality you have. Be honest with yourself. If you want something that's a bit more cush, go get a career. Learn about SEO and go get an actual career in SEO where you're funded and you've got, some kind of peace of mind that you're working for somebody and you're helping them build their, idea of what they need SEO for, but do it from a place where you're kind of protected in a sense, right? But if you love the fight, if you love facing, problems that could make or break, your entire lifestyle and livelihood, then SEO might just be for you. Picture it as one of the career paths that you'll always have a decent amount of stress because there's always curveballs being thrown at you, via Google, via the way you build things. You're always going to have to stay on your toes, so to speak. And from that perspective, I love SEO. It's kept me on my toes. I've never been able to just take a breather over the years. But I like being in there. I like being in that position. I might be sort of shifting that perspective a little bit as I get older and I want more automation. I want less stress, but at the same time, I'll probably just go find something else that stresses me out, and keep pushing at that as well. So, if you're a person that's historically shied away from wanting stress in your life, just heed warning that SEO is not a concrete, easy to follow career path. And that's the reality of the
I
subject.
just thought of something kind of interesting. Especially with new SEOs, you see this like they're obsessed with checking their rankings like every day, and
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
lack of instant gratification, right? Whatever they came from before, you generally do some kind of work and then you get some kind of result, you get some kind of gratification from it, right? So it just makes sense, right? That they're coming to terms with the fact that that's not there anymore, and that you can do a ton of work one day, and you know, but then you get to the point where you're just way more.
Once you're ranking sites and you can hit money targets, it's a completely different ball game, right?
Yeah.
But it takes a long time to build those recipes.
And I won't say this completely fixes the problem of having to wait on Google and not really having full control. But one thing you can also think about is trying to minimize the effect of results having an effect on your survival. So for example, let's say you're newer to SEO and you're getting into affiliate, and so you're surviving on this affiliate income. Let's say you're newer to SEO and you're getting into affiliate, and so you're surviving on. Okay, there we go. So basically,
no, that was my phone. My bad.
Yeah. So one thing you can do to try to minimize this in a way is to try to incorporate things into your business so that basically your results don't impact 100% your means of survival. So for example, if you're doing local SEO, of course, yes, you want to get results for all of your clients, but at the same time, you have all of these other things that factor into how you make money. Your sales process factors in to how you're making money, your client retention. So basically, what I'm saying is, like, if you're just an affiliate site owner and you're new to SEO and you're like, I need these results, man, because if I don't get the results, the site's not going to make money, and I'm I'm gonna be a failure. I'm gonna have to go back to a normal job or whatever. Whereas if you're doing like local or
Been
something,
there.
you might lose that one client if you can't get them results in X amount of time or something. But then, you still have your sales process. You still have your process of funneling in like new money into your business as a way of making money, right? So it just becomes a little bit of a less of a pressure on you. And so you've probably heard this before, but especially affiliate, if you're new to SEO, it's probably one of the harder places to get started on. And that this kind of might factor into it as well. Affiliate generally has more competition, but also the fact that your results dictate your money, and it's a direct correlation, right? Can be a little bit really hard psychologically for a newer SEO until you've done it. Maybe you still have your other job or whatever, and you don't want client SEO at all. You don't want local. You just want to get into affiliate. Then having your other job while you're getting into affiliate, and then maybe you see a project through to completion. You actually flip the site. You say okay, and then you kind of start getting more of a feel of how things work, and then this. The feeling of not having the control or waiting for Google's approval, once you've kind of been through the cycle a couple times, I don't think really will affect you as much anymore. So yeah, if you have the determination, what Nick was talking about, just the grit and the determination to like see this thing through in something just such a unstable kind of feeling of industry, things changing all the time, and you have to wait for someone else's or Google's approval and all this. If you can make it through all that, then it eventually gets easier, and at least psychologically, it gets psychologically a bit easier.
SEO gets easier, and then you have to learn all the other aspects of business as well. My last entrepreneurial difficulty came with having to really learn bookkeeping and accounting properly. God, that was stressful. But if you're in business for yourself, you're gonna have to wear a lot of hats.
Actually got a couple more.
There was another question on Facebook, I believe. I saw it come up. That's what I was trying to find.
That's on YouTube.
Hassan.
Oh, that was Hassan. He
No.
posted the question in both places. Surviving on this affiliate income.
Okay.
That was Hassan. I can hear your volume again. Okay, this is going to be the last question for real, though. I think it's
all right. Well, no, I mean we called it. We're already.
We'll just answer it real quick. The short question. Unfortunately, I've noticed that Google has been indexing my articles very late or not at all for a few weeks now. Is this the same with you? Of course, these are old sites with DR, lots of high DR links and high traffic, I guess. Are you checking on Google Index? So I guess yeah, you're probably checking. I know people were saying something was wrong with Google Search Console. The recently there's been problems with Search Console, so I don't know how you're checking for indexation, but on Search Console specifically, they even came out and they made a statement saying that there's been problems with it. I haven't noticed anything with things not getting indexed. Have you, Nick? I'm not necessarily. I haven't really been posting a lot of content recently.
I don't really check very often. Here, let me just.
That's like what
I put something up yesterday, so let me just see if it's indexed today. But granted, we're talking about a very authority site. It's it's an authority site, so
it's kind of funny because it's kind of ties into what we were just talking about, like people, the instant gratification and like the checking for rankings or even checking for indexing. It's like when at like what we're doing right now, it's so rare that we check for these kinds of things. We just keep going. You just keep going, and you kind of like keep an eye on stuff, and then you're like, oh, something you might notice a kind of bigger problem.
Oh, okay. So on my super authoritative site, the post that I put up yesterday is not indexed yet, which I would have thought it would have been. That's interesting. Here, let me do a little bit older one.
I'll check something too.
Yeah, and so the one before that, which I guess was put up maybe like 2 weeks ago, is indexed. You know, indexation is going to depend a lot on your website, how healthy it is, how often it gets crawled. If it's a site that doesn't really have any rankings and it's newer and it's sitting out in the middle of nowhere in the SERPs, it probably doesn't get crawled too often. If it doesn't have a big link profile from authoritative sites, it probably doesn't get crawled too often. These are the things that I would probably consider if I was, kind of prodding it. Why? A month or a few weeks is quite a long time for you not to get indexation. Now, I'd be curious to know,
Yeah, he does
is it
say it's an
across the
old
board
site. He
with
says
every
it's an
article
old
you
site with high authority and traffic. It's kind of weird, if it's been a few weeks, like I just checked another one of my sites and from something that was posted about a week ago and it's fine. So I don't think there's anything weird across the board, especially if you're just checking Google index, using the Google search operator like site colon and then the URL you're checking for index rather than going through Search Console if you're checking like that. I'm not really seeing anything weird. So it might be something you want to look into as far as your site goes. If it's been a long time and historically things have indexed a lot quicker, and like you said, it's an old site with high authority links and it's got traffic and everything. Yeah, it might be something you want to look into a little bit because I'm not seeing anything weird as far as yeah recent articles published. All right, guys. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and call it there. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for questions. Oh, we went like way over. I didn't notice we were so far over today. Um, but yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for asking the
my
questions.
eyes, Chris.
I didn't even look at the clock, or I might have just skipped out. But no, we're happy to answer your guys' questions. Sometimes we go over.
That's all right. We had a good turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully it helped you guys. We forgot we always tell people to like, comment, and subscribe for like the first like segment or two, and then we just completely forget about it and we get in the zone and we stop telling people to like, comment, and subscribe. It's definitely something we need
Yeah,
to
we're gonna
work
have
on.
to leave it up to y'all.
I'm gonna
We
have to like
need
put like a
we need
sticky
some
note on my
troops.
computer. I'm gonna put a
Yeah, or
sticky
maybe we
note
just
like
put it
on
in
my
the
computer.
background somewhere. Maybe Sir Links-a-Lot doesn't say question, ask in chat. Maybe now he says like, comment, subscribe if you have a question, or
Good work.
whatever.
But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, go over to our YouTube and like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not in our Facebook group, definitely head over to our Facebook group, SEO Roundtable. That's where we're the most active, during the week and stuff. The YouTube we're only on here basically once a week, and then the videos that get posted up are just clips from the live streams. But yeah, we're real active in our Facebook group. We're checking and answering stuff and trying to post stuff like every day. So definitely head over there. SEO Roundtable, not SE Roundtable, but SEO Roundtable by Sir Links-a-Lot. And yeah, thanks for showing up, and we will see you guys next week.
Trapping.